So many news conferences staged for the cameras that I wondered when they had time to negotiate. Wasn't it kind of like the fourth quarter of a basketball game? And did we really need those countdown clocks?
Yes, I think this is good news because you're right. Look, the media, hyped this. They played it like, at worst, a sporting event, at best, an election with a deadline. And the deadline did make this sort of relevant. But that's good. I tell you why. Because budget stuff is tedious. And most Americans would not tune in or be interested in a CR. But what the media did in ginning it up for ratings is actually make it something that people were interested in. Then you delve in deeper. You start to learn about the budget. So ultimately, I think it's a win.
Right, so Matt Lewis endorses the Sports Center approach. But after all the focus on the political maneuvering, Julie Mason, the last couple of days, it looked like the government actually might shut down, at least for a few days. It was almost like journalists woke up and said, hey, soldiers in Iraq and Afghanistan are not going to get their paychecks to feed their families, which would have been an outrage.
That's really true. But, Howie, the thing is, every veteran journalist in Washington knew exactly how this was going to turn out. We were joking about it at the White House on Wednesday, saying 11 p.m. on Friday, they're going to get a deal. But, we all had to cover the story like it was a real thing.
I wonder, Ari, at the end of this, Democrats made the issue, portrayed the Republicans as making the issue about ideology such as defunding Planned Parenthood. Do you think the press did enough to cover that side of the fight as opposed to the winners, the losers, the countdown clock, and all of the theatrics surrounding it?
Well, it was hard to cover because we didn't know what were part of these negotiations for so long. I mean, we kept talking about these cuts, these agreements, and we didn't actually know what was in the agreement. And then it comes out at the last minute, well, is it really about Planned Parenthood, which was just, if you think about it, an absolutely absurd reason not to have a budget deal because of $360 million that goes to family planning services. The Democrats, for one day, did a very good job of making that the issue, but of course, Republicans in the end got all the spending cuts pretty much that they wanted, and they changed it as a result.
I was going to make that precise point, Matt Lewis. The Democrats made a lot of concessions here, $38 billion in spending cuts. Yes, this is just a 6-month budget, and the bigger battles lie ahead and all of that. We'll get to that if we have time, but it seemed the coverage didn't reflect, maybe because the Republicans didn't want to declare victory, that John Boehner and his troops really got a lot of what they wanted.
I think they did. I think Republicans are ultimately the winners. I think John Boehner comes out looking really good, like a statesman, like someone who got a lot for his base and yet still was able to compromise. But it could have been, I think, very bad for Republicans if the government did shut down because of the way media narratives work. You talked about the military, the soldier who wouldn't have been paid, or the family who comes to the zoo from Omaha and you can't get in. Those are very emotional and real. It's easy to have a camera and show those stories. The stories that are hard to show are stories like about my 3-month-old son who might have this debt in 30 years. And the tax. So in other words, the Republican story is abstract. The deficits, taxes in the future, abstract. The media narrative would have